was working at 53rd and Broadway with Fred Waring, and we had a show on. There's probably nobody here.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. We got one that heard the Les Paul Trio with Fred Waring in 1937 to 1941. And Major Bose had his offices in the same building with Fred Waring, where we rehearsed with 65 Pennsylvanians. We were on every night for Chesterfield. And Major Bose got out of his big limo, and he had 4 guys that piled out of that limo. You know how those little circuses where all those guys pile out? Well, when Major Bose got out, he had spats on, and he had a top hat on. Oh boy, this guy was killing him. Major Bose with the amateur hour. He had the gong. If you weren't good, the gong hit, and that was it. Well, I didn't mean to be a poet. It's just the way it happened to come out. And that was it. When he hit the gong. What happened is that Major Bose gets out, and he's got the Hoboken Four with him, and that was Francis Albert Sinatra, and that skinny little kid. I wondered who they were, so we tuned in to hear the show that night, and it was Sinatra. And Major Bose asked us to be on his amateur show too, but we didn't take that. We joined Fred Waring. The first week we came to New York, we just worked our way to New York. When we got here, we ended up going in the 53rd and Broadway, where Letterman's show is now. Went in there and, oh boy, did I pull a fast one on my other 2 guys in the trio. So, you know, this is something I can tell you now, because both of my fellows in the trio are no longer with us, but you are. So I could be doing a scam on you just like the one I did with them. We were in Chicago, and they said, well, where are we going? I said, well, flip a coin. So I took a coin and I flipped it. Came down heads. I says, we're going to New York. And we drove to New York playing with the WLS Barn Dance. That's some, nobody's heard that, the WLS Barn Dance, no one here. But it was big, and it was bigger than the Nashville Barn Dance. And we joined that outfit, and we worked our way to Malone, New York, and that was the last job we played. And we drove, and this is the latter part of 1936, or the early part of 37. We're driving down from Malone, New York, and we heard a fellow on the radio singing, and it was Dick Todd. Now, nobody's heard of Dick Todd, but he was the guy that copied Bing Crosby. And we heard him on WHAM in Rochester, so we said, geez, there's all kinds of talent here. And we came down for the first time in our life, down 17, and saw the Catskills. What the hell is that? And we're seeing nightclubs, and we're seeing all these different, Eddie Cantor, Jack Benny, Burns and Allen, Fred Allen, and Burns and Allen, all these comedians in the nightclubs up in the Catskills. We came to New York, and I lied. I had told my trio, the other Jimmy Atkins and Ernie Newton, that I had a very dear friend, Paul Whiteman, in New York. So when we got to New York, we were washing our clothes out in a wash tub, in a bathtub. And they says, hey, when we hanging these clothes out, let's call your friend. And so they did. They went down and got the yellow pages and looked up Paul Whiteman, and they handed me his phone number. So I went to the phone hanging on the wall down in the lobby, and I called him. He says, what'd he say? He says, I got his secretary. And the secretary says, we're not interested. I said I had a trio and I wanted to come over and play for Paul Whiteman. He said, we're not interested. And she hung up. And I said to the 2 guys in the trio, I said, they said, come right over. So we went over to 53rd and Broadway, and that's when we got to go in there, and we saw the Sinatra thing, okay? And we go upstairs, and when we get there to see Paul Whiteman, I see him down that long hallway, this big fat guy, and boy, he was the biggest thing in show business. And I says, hi, Paul, and the secretary closed the door. And I was standing in the hallway. And right there, I thought, oh my God, my two guys in the trio. And out steps Fred Waring. Fred Waring was also a tremendously popular man with a 65-piece glee club and orchestra. And he steps out of the men's room. And I says, are you Fred Waring? He says, yeah, but I'm not interested in any more people. And I says, well, the elevator, till the elevator gets here? He says, well, I can't stop you. So we break into After You've Gone, and we play the thing, and he says, get into the elevator. And we got into the elevator with him, and he got off on the 9th floor, and he walked into his big orchestra rehearsing, and he says, hold it, hold it. He says, there's 3 guys played for me waiting for the elevator, and if you like them as much as I do, I'm going to hire them. And by God, that's how we got our job.